So the next few tips are pretty basic and pretty simple to implement. For example, this next one is basically use visual cues whenever you can. So you are a graphic designer when you're trying to design something, right? So you're basically trying to communicate an information visually. Try to be as visual as possible in every design. Don't be too wordy. Don't use a lot of text when it is not necessary. Always try to use a visual cue wherever it is possible to use. Always remember that your priority should be to communicate an information visually and not through text. The next tip I have for you is very important and yet very basic, which is that don't use everything that is there at your disposal. Okay, just because you have a ton of colors, just because you have a ton of elements, a ton of images, a ton of fonts, you don't need to use every single one of them. That's how you ruin everything. So basically try to stick with 3 colors for one design, and maybe if you're getting started, just stick with 2 colors. You can hardly ever go wrong with just 2 colors. And if you want to use a third color, try to use a neutral one. And once you get a hang of it, you can start implementing more colors into your design, but still try to restrict yourself to maximum of 3 colors. And same goes for typography. You have a lot of fonts available for you, a lot of fonts with a lot of different styles also, and a lot of different font sizes, but don't use every single one of them. Just use 2 or 3, 2 fonts at max. And if you want to still create some sort of differentiation between the different text boxes, use different font sizes or like different styles of fonts under the same font family. And even with those, try to restrict yourself to 1 or 2 or 3 max. Don't go crazy by using everything, because that's how you make something that looks very tacky and just doesn't look good. Not every one of us is born with, the designer's eye, the amazing aesthetic sense that all these designers have. So you have to develop it. To develop it, you have to follow a lot of designers and go through a lot of designs. And once you do that, you automatically will get a hang of it. You'll know what works and what doesn't work. So especially when you're getting started with the project, always look for inspirations online. Part of the reason why Canva is so useful and so easy to use is because it has pre-made templates. These templates help people get inspirations, and that's why getting started with Canva is a lot easier than getting started with, let's say, Photoshop or Illustrator, because there you just get a white canvas. So always look for inspirations. All the designers do it. I'm not asking you to plagiarize anyone's design, but like always look for inspiration. It'll make your design process a lot faster, and you'll be able to come up with a lot of ideas. No matter how creative you are, it is going to be difficult to come up with design ideas just by thinking of it. So the final tip that I have for you before we get started with Illustrator is prioritize information over aesthetics. So what I basically mean by that is, although I did say that try to use visual cues, always remember that your prime goal is to communicate an information. And if you're not able to communicate that properly, then your design has basically failed. So always try to prioritize information over aesthetics. Just because something looks cool, you don't need to add it if it takes away from the message. This is absolutely important, especially for you as marketers. Our prime goal is not to make something that looks very fancy, that is very vague, that is very artistic. Although we want to keep all those things in mind, our prime goal is to put across a message. And if your message is not going across properly, then your design is basically failed. So before I go, thank you, Patricia, for this amazing opportunity. I had a lot of fun making this video. I hope it was helpful to you guys. And if any of you have any question, just connect with me on LinkedIn and DM me.